Hi guys, this is Melissa from the House of Plaid Fuzz, and today we're going to talk about saving money on your utilities this winter. If you're new to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any of my new content, and if you're not, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how to winterize your home and how to save money on your utilities this winter. I live in the Midwest, so fall temperatures are definitely upon us. It's a little nicer today, but we had a couple of days where it was like cold. It was, our highs were like in the low 40s and it was rainy. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I live in an old house. Our house is like 99 years old, and we have old windows, and which we're working on replacing. But you know, in an old house, there's a lot that needs replaced, so we're kind of doing things one at a time. And I was very concerned about the utility bills when we moved in here, just because it is an old house. It's very drafty. You know, the windows and doors are not insulated well. The house itself is probably not insulated all that well. But just with taking a few of the steps that I'm going to talk about today, we have kept our utility bill not only manageable, it's basically the same as what we were paying in our last house, which was 50 years newer, so, and very well insulated. So I've been really happy with that. One of the biggest tips I can give you is to dress warm. And that might seem kind of obvious, duh, but seriously, I mean, I'd love to crank my thermostat to 75 all the time, but it would probably double my heating bill. I try to keep my thermostat no higher than 70, even when it's really cold. And you know, here in the Midwest, I mean, we get, when I say really cold, I mean our actual temperature can get down to 30 below. So we get some really cold snaps. Something that has really helped me, you'll notice I have this sweater on today. This is my winter uniform. I literally wear this sweater. This is my house coat. When I brought it out the other day, my husband was like, oh, it's that season. But it's nice and warm. You know, I can just throw it over a t-shirt, and then if I get too hot throughout the day, you know, I can lose the sweater or whatever. But that in and of itself helps me to keep my thermostat dramatically lower than what I would have to if I just wore, you know, a regular knit shirt or whatever. I also wear slippers morning, noon, and night when I'm at home. I'm not only wearing socks, plus we have wood steps going upstairs, so that just seems like a recipe to fall down the stairs to me. But I do wear slippers, and you might have seen on my Instagram, I'll throw a picture up so you can see. My daughter got me these Toro slippers this year for my birthday, and they're very big and warm. But if your feet are warm, it's crazy how the rest of your body warms up. One other thing that is absolutely indispensable to me in the winter is an electric blanket. And some of my friends have laughed at me about this a little bit. Yes, my grandma does have an electric blanket. Yours probably does too. But you know, there's sound reasoning there. Whether it's at night or when I'm just sitting on the couch watching TV, that, you're not moving and it's freezing cold. And it's amazing how much that electric blanket helps to keep me warm. Our bedrooms are upstairs. We don't live on the farm, we live in the city, but we basically live in an old farmhouse. So if it's cold downstairs, it's even colder upstairs. And that electric blanket is life-saving at night during the winter. And like I said, you know, even when I'm just sitting on the couch or whatever, that keeps me from cranking the thermostat up. I just get out my electric blanket. And of course my dogs absolutely love it because they're always cold too. And you know, if you have little dogs that are always cold like mine, put sweaters on them. That's what I do because they will sit there and shiver. My daughter actually also got the dogs Toro pajamas. Again, if you follow me on social media, you may have seen these already, but you know, you do what you have to do when it's cold. So my next tip is to kind of insulate your house, weatherize your house. Like I said, we live in an old house with old windows, so I'm going to show you what I've gotten this year to winterize our house. Some of these things may or may not apply to you, but it'll give you an idea. The main #1 thing is put plastic on your windows, and this is something I strongly resisted. I grew up extremely poor on a farm in Iowa, and I remember we always had plastic on our windows in the winter, and you know, you'd literally see them billow out the plastic when it was, you know, the wind blew. And to me, I don't know, plastic on the windows just screamed poverty. And maybe that's weird, but that's just, you know, from the way I grew up. So I really resisted this, but last year it was so cold and drafty in here, I broke down and we covered the windows in plastic. And for one thing, if you blow dry it, if you apply it and blow dry it properly, you can't even see it's there. And secondly, I cannot believe how much this cut down on the draftiness by those old windows. That will buy us, you know, as much time as we need to replace those windows, because windows are very expensive. So the next thing is we do not have central air. When we bought this house, the furnace is, I think they said maybe 40 years old. It's older than me, and that's saying something. And so we thought we were going to have to replace it right away. Our home inspection said it was on its last legs. But once we got into the house, my grandpa, who was a plumber and worked in HVAC for 40 years, looked it over and he says, it's just fine. It's working great. And it did work great last winter, and we're not going to replace it until it actually dies. So we have window air conditioners. Now, like our window air conditioners upstairs, we take out during the winter, but we have one in our main level that's big, and they actually like caulked it into the window, and like the braces on the outside are screwed into the house. It would just be a big production to take it out. So we leave it in. So this year I actually got, this is like a quilt type of thing. It's an indoor air conditioner cover. And you actually just put it over the front of the air conditioner to kind of insulate it. And in conjunction with that, I also got this one to put on the outside of the window air conditioner. If you don't have window air conditioners, obviously you're not going to need this. But if you're in the same predicament as me and there's one that you leave in, you could literally stand in front of it and feel the cold air coming through. So I don't know why I didn't do this last year. But one other thing that I also got this year is this foam. This is for, because our windows are old, you know, when they're up and the air conditioner is in, there's a little gap at the top between the panes. Well, you know, in true classy fashion, I have a towel shoved in there. And my main concern was I was afraid bats would come in. But it turns out tons of cold air was coming in too. So I got this really thick foam to kind of shove in there and insulate that a little better. Another thing that you can get that I don't have pictured here because I haven't ordered it yet, there are like insulator things that you can get to put behind your outlets in the wall. I didn't realize, I believe it's something like 30% of your wasted energy goes out your outlets in the exterior walls. So whether you have an old or new house, that may be something you want to consider. A couple more tips that I have for saving money on utilities in the winter is to unplug things. I know we hear that a lot to save money on our electric bill, but it really does work. You know, if you're not using something, unplug it. Some people go as extreme as unplugging things like washers and dryers. I don't do that. But you know, for instance, like, you know, our toaster oven, or, you know, if there's a computer or a light or something like that, I'll unplug it when we're not using it. If something's a big pain in the butt, like if the outlet's behind something, I don't worry about that. But you know, there's a lot of obvious, easy things that you can unplug. Another thing is, like, you know, if you have rooms in your house that you don't really use throughout the winter, close them off. Shut the door, shut the vent, and don't pay to heat them. We have such a small house that we definitely use every room. But when I was growing up in our big old drafty farmhouse, we definitely closed off certain rooms of the house that weren't in use, because there's no point in paying to heat them if no one's using them. All right, guys, so there you have a few of my tips on how to keep your utility bills low this winter and how to winterize your house, especially if you live in an older home. If you have any tips, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Also, make sure that you check out, I'm gonna leave links below to my blog, to my social media, all that good stuff. And like I said, I will also leave links to all of the products that I talked about today. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.